I even got social media.
What?
All right. Okay.
Ew.
Do it. Stick your tongue out and wiggle your head back and forth really fast. Your tongue feels
Ready?
really.
Ew, I just slobbered.
You look like an idiot.
Do it. Hey, look it. That's from my nails.
It's like when people say, oh, you know, orange is written on the ceiling, and you're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. But you'd be the one to like
Nuh-uh.
Victoria.
She made it. We're just going to start notes.
Look at 'em. Yeah,
Okay. We're going to perform the operation and simplify. So there's lots of algebra practice in this. And then the trig comes into play at the end. So our first example, I would like you to take tangent and add it to 1 over tangent. So, what we want to do is perform the operation. The only operation in here says add these two things together. So that's what we want to do first, then we'll simplify. So because this is a fraction, I'm going to make this a fraction. Okay, I'm going to take you back to 7th grade for a minute. If you were going to add 2/5 to 1/3, what would you have to do there? You get a common denominator, correct? What would your common denominator be here?
15.
15. So you'd have to get them both to be over 15.
Wait, why did you just do that? Does that have anything to do with?
Yes. It's going to be the same process, but with trig functions instead of numbers. Okay. How do you get from the denominator of 5 to the denominator of 15? So you actually have to hit it with a 1, because you can't change the fraction. You got to multiply by a 1, which means 3 over 3. So that will give me 6 over 15, which is equivalent to 2/5. So I'm not changing that fraction, just changing what it looks like. Over here, I got to hit it with the 1. What's my 1? 5 over 5. So I get 5. And now, when you add fractions, what happens?
You add the top and
You
keep the bottom.
add the top and keep the bottom. Same thing over here, but with trig functions. I need a common denominator so that I can add. What's my common denominator going to be? Tangent. So I want them both to be over tangent. So the second one's good to go. It already had the denominator I needed. I have to multiply. I have to hit it with the 1 over here. What do I multiply by to get that new denominator?
You're multiplying it by tangent over tangent.
Yes, tangent over tangent. So what's my new numerator?
Tangent.
Tangent squared.
Tangent squared.
Oh.
Okay. After we got the common denominator, what did we do when we added fractions?
We just, you know, squish them together.
Squish them together to make one fraction out of them. What's the denominator on my one fraction?
Tangent.
Tangent. My numerator, so I'm going to add tan squared plus 1. Okay.
You have to keep that one, hey?
Yep. So, I've performed the operation. I've added the fractions together. Now we're at the point where we were at yesterday. I want to simplify if I can.
Oh, good.
Do you see anything in here that might simplify?
Pythagorean theorem, identity.
Oh, Pythagorean identity.
Not zero.
What is tan squared plus 1? It is secant squared. Tan squared plus 1 is secant squared.
See, I would have definitely like divided the bottom tangent to the top.
Oh, you can't cancel. You want to cancel? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, let's do
Oh, that's not legal.
That's not legal.
Why?
That's not. When you see add or subtract, okay, this is my way to help you remember when you can cancel and when you can't. So
That would have
listen.
helped a lot.
It ain't.
Okay, when you have add or subtract signs, think of those as like tangent squares holding hands with a plus 1. And tangent, okay, you're going to hold hands, and you're not going to let go. So I'm not allowed to cancel off because it's holding hands. It's attached over here with this plus or minus sign. If this was a times sign in here, cancel away. It's not holding hands with anybody. But a plus or a minus, they're holding hands. I can't take one away because it's attached with this one over here. So if you keep that in your head, you can kind of remember, can I cancel this? Nope. Holding hands over here with it if it's a plus or a minus.
But afterwards, that's like the final answer.
Well, nope.
No. Okay.
Because we're going to switch to sines and cosines and see if anything else will cancel out. So secant gets rewritten 1 over
1 over cosine
sine squared. Tangent gets rewritten, nope,
Sine over cosine.
sine over cosine. Fraction divided by fraction says do what? What am I allowed to cancel?
Okay, actually nothing.
Actually, yes.
No, wait, yes, you can. You can do the same thing that Matt was talking about because you ain't got that.
No add or minus, no add or subtract. I've got a times sign, I can cancel away.
Yeah.
1 gets rid of one of these.
Swag money.
Kenley.
Okay. 1 over cosine. What function is 1 over cosine?
I hope they put that on the video.
Yeah, you guys had to yell.
Secant. 1 over sine.
What's the opposite of?
Cosecant.
Yeah, that one.
There it is.
Oh, whoa.
Whew.
Whoa.
I gotta chill.
Whew.
Now we got 1 over cosine over 1 over sine.
Yep.
And you did what now?
1 over cosine is secant.
Oh.
Something that's not a fraction is more simplified than something that is a fraction.
You can't. And we got ourselves a lovely.
Wait, how come? Wait, what is that?
That's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. They're not all long.
1 over cosine
Is secant.
and 1 over sine.
Is cosecant.
Interesting.
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 Let's try a little bit shorter one.
Oh, good idea.
So you don't think they're all long and obnoxious. 1 plus sine squared plus cosine squared. Okay, perform the operation first. That means square this quantity and add cosine squared to it. How do I square a binomial? You do not distribute in, that's not legal.
Don't you foil?
You FOIL.
Oh.
Multiply it by itself.
Yes.
Lots of algebra here.
So now we got 1 squared. Or we don't.
Oil.
Wait, can you?
You cannot distribute
Oh,
that
you
too.
just put 'em separate
Yes.
fraction to 'em.
So now I'm going to FOIL. So 1
No, that was at Jake's house.
plus sine
Oh, yeah.
plus sine plus sine squared plus cosine squared.
Outside.
Okay, what can we simplify in that line? 2 sine. Sine plus sine is 2 sine.
And that's all I got.
Are you sure?
That's all I got.
That's all Austin got. There is something else in this line. Who can find it? That's sine plus sine turned into 2 sine.
Wait, would that plus 1 have anything to do?
We're going to carry that along. I'm waiting for somebody else to see what's in this line. Well, how about sine squared plus cosine squared?
That equals 1.
Hang on, I'll figure it out.
That is technically sine over.
1.
This equals 1. This group right here
I got it right.
is a 1.
Still trying to freaking write it down.
Because you were talking and carrying on a conversation with Matt. Yes,
They're
you
talking
were.
about being boyfriends and girlfriends.
Okay, Kenley, no, because he has a girlfriend and I have a boyfriend, so
That is true, but that's the whole world.
And that's as far as that simplifying is going to go there. There's no other trig function to try and switch sines and cosines. That's it.
That's not bad.
That's
So
not
this-
bad.
I think the hardest thing is going to be figuring out when you need to stop.
Mm-hmm. That is the hardest, some of the hardest parts.
I think the hardest part is starting.
Okay, ready for the next one?
Hi, Carly.
We'll go with another short one.
Is this a video?
Now let's go with a long one.
How good that Snapchat.
Long.
Oh,
like
How many lines?
I don't know, about 10. Depends on how big you write.
All this Snapchat is the
What do you want to see?
same. Well, I mean, like yours are like, oh, you know, like.
Okay, conversation needs to stop. Every day, same thing. Knock it off. This is not easy stuff here. Focus. All right, perform the operation. We want to subtract these two fractions. In order to subtract fractions, what do I need?
Common denominator.
Common denominator.
For the cosine x, is that like the same thing as cosine theta?
Yep, same thing.
Well, I think that's beta.
That's fine. So I need a common denominator. What is my common denominator going to be?
1 plus.
1 plus cosine x
Yeah, let's do that.
times
1 minus.
1 minus. You need both of those denominators in your common denominator. Now you've got to go back and figure out what your new numerator is going to be. So we essentially hit it with the 1. What did this first fraction get hit with?
Negative.
The 1 minus cosine. So that means you have to multiply the top by the same thing. But it's only going to get multiplied by a 1. So my new numerator is going to be 1 minus cosine x. So far, so good? Now how about the second fraction? What did it get multiplied by?
1 plus.
1 plus cosine x over 1 plus cosine x. And that's going to get multiplied by the 1, so it's not going to change anything. It's just going to stay 1 plus cosine x. Okay, now that we have the common denominator, what's the next step?
Put them together.
Squish them together into one fraction.
So would it be negative 2 cosine x?
We're going to find out in a minute.
Or am I making that up?
You are making that up. Okay,
But I get to try.
so I've got 1 minus cosine x. Then I'm going to subtract 1 plus cosine x.
Okay. I follow.
Okay, I've got to subtract. So that means I have to distribute this negative into the second numerator. So if I do that, what am I going to have?
Why are you doing that?
Negative 1 minus cosine.
So I can get rid of the parentheses and combine like terms. So I have 1 minus cosine x, then it'll be minus 1 minus cosine x again. Are you okay with that? I just distributed the negative and I wrote it out.
I know, but
Okay.
I have that erased and
All
I
right.
have to rewrite.
So now I'm going to combine like terms. What happens to my 1s? They cancel out. What do I have left in that numerator?
Negative 2 cosine.
I have negative 2 cosine x. So my numerator is negative 2 cosine x. The bottom we want to FOIL because something's going to happen down there. So we're going to FOIL the bottom out. So foiling the bottom, we'll get 1 minus cosine x plus cosine x minus cosine squared x. So what do I actually have in the denominator? 1 minus cosine squared x. Wonder what that equals.
One may never know.
I've got 1 minus cosine squared. I've got this identity. Can you rearrange this to say 1 minus cosine squared? If you can, what does it equal? This one?
Sine squared.
Yes. I'm going to subtract the cosine squared. I'll have 1 minus cosine squared. That's gone. What is 1 minus cosine squared going to equal? Sine squared. So that denominator is actually sine squared. X.
Is that it?
I would be happy with that answer. But like I said, non-fraction answers are better than fraction answers. So could I break this apart into fractions that simplify to different trig functions that are not fractions?
Probably, but we have to do that.
I would be perfectly happy you would get full credit right here.
What
But when
the-
you check your answer, you're not going to have this answer.
What would the book do? Would it keep going?
It would keep going. So it would be negative 2,
Do you have to write this down?
I would, times cosine x. How can I break apart sine squared? Sine times sine?
Yeah.
Sine x times sine x. Is it okay if I put a 1 times by 1 up on the top? I'm not changing anything? Okay?
Why did you just multiply by?
Because I want a fraction. I want this fraction and I want this fraction.
Well, cosine over sine is,
Cotangent.
Cotangent.
We're math together.
And 1 over sine is
Cosecant.
cosecant.
Go.
I am happy if you get to the cosine over sine squared.
Oh, those are so good. In a green bag. They come in multiple grapefruit flavors.
So here we go.
Well, grapefruit comes in.
Grapefruit, orange, lemon.
Is this another long one?
No.
Is it gonna be like?
This one's super short. Shortest one we've had. Tangent theta times cosine theta. It's, this little chunk of problems, they tell you to simplify this down to a single trig function. So you're not done until you're down to a single trig function. What's your one road you can travel down here to start this out?
We can change tangent to sine over cosine.
That is a perfect start. You are on the correct road. You are on the paved road.
Someone will be here all night. Or
I'm going to rewrite cosine as cosine over 1, just so I can line up my numerators and my denominators. Because that makes it very easy to see what has to cancel.
Okay, this is really easy.
Yep.
And you just cross out the cosine, and you're left with sine over 1, which is technically sine.
There you go. Done. Told you it was an easy one. Thank you.
You see, starting that, I probably would have messed it up.
I wouldn't. And I'll be winning.
Sine squared
Aiden, don't come back on him.
Yeah.
over cosine squared plus sine times cosecant. This is one where there's multiple roads to start with. One's going to take you off a cliff, one's going to take it to the answer. So, who wants to start us off? Rachel.
That was good. That was really good.
Okay. So you said change this cosecant to 1 over sine. I will do that. Okay, I like that because what am I going to get over there? 1. Okay, so I get a plus 1. That's nice to have.
Wait. What did you just do plus one?
Right here.
What?
Plus, this all turns into 1.
Okay, wait. Hold on. Yeah. I was watching, trying to comprehend.
All she did was switch this to 1 over sine.
Okay.
So then I made this sine over 1 so I could line things up. Anytime I've got one fraction, whatever's next to it, I make fractions. Just keeps everything lined up nicely.
And then sine squared over cosine squared is tangent squared.
Oh, you are awesome, Kenley.
Wait, time out.
Well, she's got it.
Tangent squared plus 1, and right there we got a Pythagorean identity.
We do.
Secant
And
squared.
somebody else can look that up.
I got it. I got it.
It's secant squared, guys.
Matt's got it.
You know what, Matt?
Nice job.
Squared.
You have my thumbprint.
And, right there, we got our single.
Single trig function.
You're welcome.
All right, number 6.
Let's do it like that.
This one will say verify. These are actually quite nice because they give you a goal to get to. Verify, but the problem is you have to show me all the steps. You can't just take quantum leaps. Can you verify, and this is pretty short so I can fit it in here, cotangent divided by cosecant, can you verify that that does come out equal to cosine?
No.
So what's nice about these is they're giving you the answer. It's just like one of our simplify problems that just says simplify as much as you can, only now I know what I need to get to. So you work on the more complicated side. This is the more complicated side. Simplify until you get this. You stop when you get here. And don't break any rules and don't take quantum leaps. Okay, so what do you want to do?
Let's change them up, you know.
Yeah,
so like
change them up.
1 over tangent.
Oh, I don't like 1 over tangent, though.
Really?
That's the wrong road to be on.
But then you could do the other one and you could flip it and...
Maybe next year.
What you got, Austin?
Getting cosine.
Yeah, switch everything to sine. Every single trig function can be rewritten in sines and cosines. You want to do that first to see if anything will cancel out. So we want to go with cosine over sine here. What do you want to do with cosecant?
Flip it to 1 over sine.
1 over sine. Now what?
Now let's multiply by the reciprocal.
There you go. So cosine over sine.
Oh, well, this was easy.
And then we just cross out the signs, we got ourselves a cosine.
And you didn't break any rules, and you showed all the steps.
So we can verify.
Yeah, the hardest part is starting.
Verified, yes.
Wait, I have a question.
What's your question?
Where did you get,
Working none.
cause wait, is cotangent equal cosine over sine?
It does.
And then
Cosecant.
equals 1 over sine?
Very good. Verified. One more verified.
Wait, no, you got it.
Okay, I gotta turn my page anyway.
Oh, only one more verify?
That's it. We're on number 7.
Is that it?
That's it.
Wait, I'm not done.
Well, how far behind were you?
Well, I was trying to pay attention to what you were
Oh,
doing.
come on.
Yeah, sure.
Stop
She's
trying to make
lying
feel
to me.
bad about
You're
myself.
lying to me. You're on your phone.
Actually, no.
Oh, not this time?
What is the I actually...
Are you good? All right, here we go.
The plus of 5 is there.
1 minus sine squared over cosine should equal cosine. Verify.
Are there some that you can't verify?
Yeah.
No, if they say verify it, it has to get there.
Okay. So there's none where they're just like making.
No, no.
Oh, so you
Okay.
can be like false.
So we will take the more complicated side, do what we can, and make it equal this one. Who wants to start us out on the correct paved road?
I know what we're doing.
Oh, Matt's got a vision.
You, change the 1 minus sine squared to cosine squared.
Oh, this is Pythagorean identity. If you look at your Pythagorean identities, 1 minus sine squared equals cosine squared. Divided by cosine.
We just cancel one of those out. We are
Cancel one of the cosines out. This one's completely gone. I go from 2 down to 1. What do I have?
So cosine.
Cosine does equal cosine. 2 steps. Done.
Are they all that easy?
No.
Done. Okay.
Today they're that easy. Tomorrow they'll be more challenging. Okay, for today.
Might actually.
It is Thursday. It is 5-2 day 1 with this trig right here. Page 201. 2, 6, 10, 24 to 38 even. Good luck.